I, Julie Shepard. We have Debbie Kilpatrick.
Hi, guys. Good to see you.
Kara Danner. Beth Tudan.
Hello.
You just want me to talk?
And Dr. Brabrand's here under Kathleen Thomas, who works with his office that also serves on our
Well, I'll
executive
just listen
board.
to the reaction. I don't understand what's
We
going
do
on.
have a lot of other special guests from state PTA, Nova District, our school board and everything. So we'll introduce them as they come up. So I'm going to turn it back over to you, Miss Kara. I think I got everybody.
Dr. Brabrand, if you can hear us, you're on. Dr. Brabrand.
Can you make your phone closer so I can hear them? I can't hear anything.
Yeah, he can't hear.
We
can
cause
I
all
just want to be able
sorts
to
of
hear by
mischief.
keeping your phone a little bit closer. That's all I'm saying.
I'm getting a tax app from over here.
Can someone text
Hi,
Dr.
everybody.
Hi,
I am
Dr.
so sorry.
Brabrand.
I do not know why we are having computer glitches today, but 2020, anything is possible, and everything is possible, but it's good to see everyone. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. And I really want to just thank you again for all that you're doing to support our students and families in our schools during this just unprecedented time. I very much appreciate the PTA's voice and its leadership. So thank you, Kara, and your entire team, Shauna, Beth, all of you, Larry, the whole team. So let me go over a couple of quick things and try to take a little bit of time for questions. And I'm sorry again to be 15 minutes late. A couple of quick things. First of all, I read your position statement around restraint seclusion, and I certainly appreciate that input. We had a work session with the school board last night. We took a lot of feedback from the board. There'll be a public hearing set up very shortly. And we're continuing to look at modifying our restraint and seclusion policy, even as we presented a policy that is a major pivot away from seclusion in our schools. And board members were pleased to see that we were removing seclusion from 99% of our schools. There's still interest in a real timeline around those remaining 3 schools that we have in Fairfax. So we're going to be taking that feedback and other feedback around the regulation, or rather the policy. We've are working to get additional feedback from our parent groups, and certainly want the PTA's voice and SEPTA's voice when we have that. So I see you have a question about high school sports question. Yeah, I can see it, but it says, but elementary can still well, high school sports is, well, okay. High school sports is guided by the Virginia High School League, and we've continued to work on their guidance around opening. And again, they've shared that they are moving forward with the season, and we're going to continue to work with them as they move through the 3 seasons this year. We have offered opportunities for PTA and PTO to do some activities and programming outside the school. And I know what I think you're saying here is programming inside the school. So we can continue to look at other opportunities. I'm going to have the work session around return to school next Thursday from 6 to 9. So we'll be sharing a lot of information then. We know there's a lot of interest around what the revised return to school dates are going to be, and we'll be sharing those dates. We're also going to be sharing our approach. We know right now in the community, we currently are using 2 of the 3 CDC indicators, 2 of the 3 indicators to guide opening and closing. The CDC created these indicators September 15th. We're using 2 of the 3, which are community transmission and percent positivity. There's a 3rd key indicator, which is mitigation strategies in schools. And there are school districts that have been able to open and return kids in person. if they do those mitigation strategies very well, even if COVID is at elevated levels or higher levels, that students can return and be in a very safe environment. In fact, safer in schools than if they're in their community. We are setting up with that third core indicator. Right now, we're only using the first two core indicators, and those indicators, the board asked for clear thresholds for pausing or for dialing down or dialing back up. So we presented two of the three, and really about a week after we presented them, the amount of COVID in our community expressed by the number of cases per 100,000 and the positivity rate went up. And so that caused us to pause. The third indicator is the mitigation, and we are setting up, already have set up these safety teams that are going around the schools to look at those 5 mitigation strategies, and we'll be sharing our approach and an update about those teams and our approach to the data next Thursday. We're hopeful is that we turn into 2021, that if we can do the school mitigation strategies well, even if COVID would remain high in the community, we could still unpause and begin returning more students to school. So we'll be sharing a lot more about that next Thursday, but I want to just give you a taste of where our return to school work session will go. We'll be talking a lot about that third metric. We'll be talking first with the health department about our community data. We'll be talking about that third core indicator of the CDC and talking about the safety teams that we've set up and how we'll use them moving forward. And we'll also be presenting some revised draft dates for returning students to school. I want to just go back real quick on restrained seclusion. There will be a public hearing. We're still taking feedback. It's not a final policy, but we have, I think, taken a step in the right direction to really reduce seclusion, ban seclusion in 99% of our schools. I know there's, again, already feedback from some in our community about that remaining 1%, and we're taking that feedback in as we review this with the board. I also just want to mention budget really briefly. We had a joint meeting with the Board of Supervisors right before Thanksgiving. Right now, there's a lot of unknowns in the budget. Where will the budget go? Will we get a federal stimulus? State revenue looks a little bit better, but remember the state budget was cut dramatically back in the spring. So what we've asked the state right now is to not cut our sales tax, which is one big thing that we get from the state, and not to cut our enrollment. Our enrollment, like every other school district, dropped. We were probably about 4%. The state average was about 5%. And we've asked them to hold our enrollment harmless for this year until, and hold it harmless this year, and then go with enrollment based on our previous projections. So we're hopeful the state will do that. But for our local government, as you know, we get 70% of our money from Fairfax County. We assumed in the very preliminary budget presentation right now a flat transfer from the county, no additional dollars, no cuts, but no additional dollars at this point. We also assumed no compensation either for county personnel or school personnel. Now, neither the county executive nor I like that, but that's where we are right now with a lot of unknowns, and we need to proceed very cautiously. So right now, it's a very bare bones budget. Even with that, because we had some additional costs for healthcare and retirement, we have about a $29 million gap. Now, those of you who've been around the budget for years know sometimes the gap has been over $100 million. So you might be thinking 29 million is not a lot. And in the scheme of the history of budgets, it's not a lot. But right now, with a very tight and a projection of a flat budget, it's still going to be, I believe, a very lean budget year. Again, there's wild cards. We know we're watching the news that there's a Senate bill for another stimulus that would have money in it to go directly to schools. But again, until we're not going to count our chickens before they hatch. And so this was a very preliminary look actually last week. And again, I'll be presenting my budget in January. We also know, and we all know this, that while many kids are doing well in virtual, some of our kids that have struggled previously in school are struggling in virtual. We did a study on that first quarter, one of the only, frankly, divisions in the country that has done that kind of statistical analysis. And we know that we have to work on additional intervention and remediation. Yes, I know, Allison, that many of the seclusions happen in those 3 schools. I'm aware of that, and we are taking that feedback in as we listen to you and others in the community about the remaining those remaining 3 schools. And there's a lot in that policy, and be glad to have Dr. Boyd and her team talk with any representatives from the Fairfax County PTA between now and the end of the period, which we are really trying to wrap it up this month, as the state's model policy has been asked to be taken into effect in January. So I wanted to share that. I shared the budget. We talked about return to school. I'll also say, because I don't want it to be a something of omission, another topic in the community has been TJ. We have a work session on TJ admissions next Monday, and we are bringing to the board our final approach in presenting 2 options for TJ admissions for next year. That is a discussion the board will be having at the work session, and then voting on the approach for TJ admissions at their December 17th meeting. So I think I took 10 minutes, and I know your meeting starts at 7. So let me see if there's some top questions. Shauna, the impact on enrollment from this year, the approach is to hold us harmless. And that's what we told the county and the state. Don't give us more, expecting enrollment to be higher, even though we are concerned next year kindergarten could be the largest kindergarten class in the history of Fairfax, because some people have kept their kid an extra year home. But we've also told the county and state, don't add any more, but don't take any away. So right now it would hold us harmless, and we would use the same budgeting numbers for our enrollment as we did this year. The testing for the county, we have a meeting with the county tomorrow about vaccination distribution. I'll learn a whole lot more tomorrow. I don't want to exceed expectations yet. I don't know where we're going to be yet in the access, and I am telling the county and the state that I want our educators to be first in line behind first responders, our medical staff, and our most vulnerable, that we need our educators to have priority access to the vaccination. And we have worked with the county that any of our staff at schools can have same-day testing access if they're not feeling well, or they were part of contact tracing from an incident at school. There are 5 sites that our staff can go to and get immediate 24-hour results. And we shared that at the last return to school meeting, and we'll share it again. And the county is working to set up a 6th site as well. And if I don't get all your questions, Kathleen is here, or I guess Kathleen will get back on this link after I'm off, and we will follow up on any questions that you have. I know everybody is working tremendously hard. Let me just see, are there any other questions for the chat, or are there a few more? I haven't gone all the way down. Where are there, Kara? Scroll up. The SOL testing this year is, you know what, I'll have to come back to you on that. The state is giving us more flexibility to have alternative assessments other than the SOL test. I've got to verify whether students have to come in person. I am hopeful that we're going to have a very different landscape in the spring than we have right now. We will still have SOL testing. By the way, we have reached out, and then we're not hearing that the new presidential administration will give a waiver for federal testing when it comes to the state SOLs. So I do expect, while accreditation has been waived and SOL won't prevent a kid from graduating, or a school for being accredited denied, SOL testing will still go on this spring, and we do not believe the Biden administration will be changing that requirement. So do expect SOLs this spring. You know, we'll look into this other thing about the programming in elementary, and particularly the athletic programming. I'll be glad to follow up on that. We've also been talking about how we can open carefully, safely co-curricular programming, which would apply at the elementary too. Did I hit all of them now? Okay. Listen, I want to thank all of you. I know it remains an incredibly challenging time, but I want to tell you how much I appreciate how supportive the PTA is and has been. And, you know, just thank you. Excuse me. Thank you for all that you're doing. And I'm just grateful, and continue to be advocates for kids and for parents and for our families in Fairfax. And we are all trying to do our best, including our team here, our leadership team, our school board. And we'll keep moving forward. But we'll have an update on return to school next Thursday. The budget is only being an okay budget. We hope to hear more about vaccinations tomorrow that I'll be able to share with the community soon. And I'll get some more updates to you on restraint and seclusion and TJ. The board finishes their work later this month. So bye-bye, everybody. Have a great day.
Okay, friends. Hopefully, I know we got started a little bit
Bye,
late, but
Kathleen.
bye. Hopefully it was helpful. I do have a quick question for you guys. I want to do a quick pulse check. Was the Q&A with Dr. Brabrand helpful, beneficial? Should we do this again going forward? Again, we know we got started a little bit late, but well, you guys are like fast. 60% of you have voted. I feel like I need to sing like the Jeopardy theme song. Okay, so what I'm seeing is that like most of you think that that was helpful, 96%. So next time we'll get those technology kinks ironed out so that we can have more valuable time with Dr. Brabrand. Okay, so we are going to move on to our next distinguished guest tonight. We have Laura Jane Cohen, our Springfield District Representative School Board member, and more importantly, a former PTA president. She's here with us tonight. So Laura Jane, I'm going to pass the baton over to you.
Thank you. I got booted out like right as you were about to introduce me, and by Zoom magic, snuck back in like right at the right moment. So Larry's trying to take credit for it, but I'm definitely not going to give him credit for that. Well, thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate it. It's just so nice to get to see so many friendly faces, and I know some of you don't have your cameras on, and I totally get it. I would not have mine on if I didn't have to, but it's nice to see familiar names then in that event. As Kara said, certainly, man, I just have to start out the meeting by saying that I so appreciate everything you guys are doing. Being a PTA president was incredibly hard. It was incredibly rewarding, but it was incredibly hard. And that was during normal pre-COVID times. And so I cannot imagine how hard it is to be you right now, and trying to keep the community together and trying to do things to support your school and support our awesome kiddos. I love seeing the kids on here. Hi, guys. And, trying to do all of that in a virtual setting and a setting where the rules keep changing. And I think that has been one of the most frustrating parts of this year, is every time I feel like we're making one tiny step forward. Many of us fought for so long to get them to finally agree to have PTA events outside. And then all of a sudden we get the governor's order shutting it down. And I even really fought back about, we had 2 schools in Springfield District that had already scheduled drive-in movies. And I was like, if everyone stays in their car and if there's any, like, please, this is not a real gathering. But I was unsuccessful, unfortunately. So I know, I just think every time you guys are coming up with the most inventive, most brilliant, I've seen beautiful scavenger hunts and virtual bingo nights and, even different ideas about like movies or watching a YouTube presentation, like all at the same time for talent shows and the creativity. You guys are totally blowing me away. So thank you for everything that you're doing. I know this is not an easy time to be doing this, and I know that you guys are, while you're trying to be the support your community needs to be, you're also trying to do that for your families as well. And so thank you so much for that. I think Dr. Brabrand, I know, gave a brief overview. As you all who know me know, probably my perspective might be a little bit different than what he said. I definitely, one of those board members who gave pushback yesterday about our restraint and seclusion policy. We're hearing from Dr. Boyd that there will be a new draft policy that will be up and presented by Friday, is what she said in the meeting yesterday. So we're looking forward to seeing that. And the hope is certainly that she will have taken the feedback that she got from SEPTA and from ASCD, from community, ACSD, sorry, from the community, from our teacher orgs and from the board, and condense that into a much more reasonable, in my opinion, package. So we look forward to seeing that. And we are going to have a public hearing. I don't think Dr. Brabrand gave a date, but I think they floated the 17th. I'll check while you guys ask me questions so that I can, no, the 17th is the vote. So I think that the public hearing is going to be on 6 p.m. on Friday, December 11th is when that has been scheduled. So certainly, just like anytime we have a public hearing, I just scooted from here from the Mosby Woods renaming public hearing. So I'm sure we'll have loads of people testifying, and we'll be glad to hear what they have to say and their thoughts and their experiences. I think everybody's got a right to be able to be heard. Back to school. Boy, I wish I had something to say about that was super positive. So I won't rehash what Dr. Brabrand said. I think every time I think we're getting in a good spot, I check the numbers and they stink. And I just saw before I got on that Falls Church now is saying that they're going to halt until after winter break, stay virtual. So I know we're seeing more and more of that. We certainly haven't heard that at all from Dr. Brabrand as a potential. We don't get a heads up until we see it at the same time you guys do. So we'll be looking to see if he has any guidance on, what's happening to move ahead. I saw the email along with all of you yesterday saying that, we weren't going to be able to get our kindergartners back in as soon as we liked. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I wish I had more information on that. I saw somebody tag about Girls on the Run. I will keep pushing about any PTA activities that are out.
Madam President, it's not just your screen. She seems to have disappeared. So
She disappeared again.
Yeah, I don't know where Laura Jane went. We'll give her a minute. In the meantime, if anybody has any questions for just for the school board, or what decisions they're responsible for making, or what the difference is between the school board members versus what Dr. Brabrand's leadership says. I'm sure that she would love to have those questions. We'll give her another minute, and then we may, man, technology is not my friend tonight. We may go ahead and move forward to the business portion of our meeting and then just kind of put it on pause when she gets back in. In fact, given that she's not here, I'm going to go ahead and recommend that. Let's get started with business. She gets back in, we will pause and come back to her. Okay, so the time is 7:08. I'm going to officially call our meeting to order. So good evening and welcome to Fairfax County Council PTA's second general membership meeting for the 2020-2021 school year. And what a year it has been. Our world has been super challenging since mid-March, and these 9 months have felt like 9 very long, arduous years. So I'm hopeful that things are going to look better once we get through the holiday season. So we did quick introductions earlier. So for anybody who is new to the call, really quickly, my name is Kara Jenkins, and I'm honored to serve as the Fairfax County Council PTA president. We are going to bypass the rest of the board introductions. So moving forward in my agenda. Okay, so whenever I hold board meetings for my team, we always like to start with a reminder of why we are here. And we do that by taking a quick moment to just pause and reflect about what our mission statement is. I find it's a great way to set the tone, and I would encourage all of you who are PTA leaders to consider this as well. It really helps with difficult conversations when we have different opinions on what PTA should be doing, what programs they should be offering, what money they should be spending. If we can have honest conversations about what our mission is, often that will help guide us to an answer. So I'm going to ask all of you to pause for just a moment while I read our mission statement. So the mission of PTA is to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. It really all comes back to the kids. So the last part of our mission statement has a really important word, advocate. You know, one of the main differences between a PTA and other parent groups is that when you PTA, you are part of something so much bigger than just your school. You're part of a nationwide movement that is looking to create better possibilities and futures for our children. A crucial yet often overlooked and sometimes even misunderstood part of PTA is that role of advocacy. PTA has a rich history of protecting our children. We did things like getting kids out of factories by pushing for child labor laws. We did things like getting kids in car seats so that when we had car accidents, they were safer and they were more protected. And we are still doing that today. We're doing that here in Fairfax County. We're doing that in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and we're doing that across the country. So that advocacy piece is so critical. We're going to bypass a little bit of our agenda today. Our Vice President of Advocacy, LaGuardia Myers, is unable to provide a report. However, our state level Vice President of Advocacy, the unstoppable and just fierce Jenna Alexander, is here to give us a presentation. So Jenna, I'm turning the floor over to you.
Thank you so much, everybody. It's great to be here with you today. I don't know if it'd be possible, if it's okay if I share my screen with you. I know I only have 10 minutes, but I find sometimes it's nicer to look at a little something else as we kind of go through our conversation. So hopefully everybody can see that. I appreciate the time to spend with you this morning. I think, as Kara said, sometimes our advocacy piece is misunderstood or just kind of shuffled to the side in the space of the work that we're already doing within our school buildings. And so I want to start with just a quick reminder, what is advocacy, right? It is nothing more than stating a problem that you see happening in your community and the change that you think would be impactful, whether that's a change in policy, it's a change in funding formula, it's a change in a process or a protocol or a way that you think our teachers or educators could be trained better. And then it's working to drive that change, right? Educating our families about the problem, building community awareness, speaking with our school administration and elected officials. So it's really just stating a problem and an opportunity to fix that problem. And I want to challenge you as you're thinking about your budgets this year and the work that you're doing in your school buildings to think about whether or not you should be fundraising or advocating. I think a lot of times when we see a problem, we immediately think like, oh, let me go fundraise and fix that, right? As we came into this return to school space, everybody started saying, I heard a lot of chatter across the state about, oh, well, if our teachers don't have PPE, that's something we can raise money for within the PTA and we can make sure they have that. But when we do things like this, it creates inequity across our state and across our school divisions, because not every school is set up to provide the same level of access. So I want to remind you to take a minute and step back and think about if it's something your school division should be providing, and if the fact that you're paying for it, if it creates inequity with other schools. And if it does, that's your chance to check and pause and say, this is something I should be advocating for. This is my opportunity to come to the council, use the resources here to share your ideas, and then advocate for change so that everybody gets the same resources and support. And so I wanted to talk with you a little bit about the General Assembly. So this has been a pretty wild ride coming through the last couple of months. We had an unprecedented special session. I'm going to share a little bit of the gains that we had out of that special session with you. But what I wanted to do was quickly prepare you at a really high level for the upcoming 2021 General Assembly session. So on December 16th, the governor is going to release his budget, and on January the 13th, session is going to start. Typically, this would be a 45-day session. So this is the time when the General Assembly usually comes back and makes amendments to the governor's budget. But what's going to happen this time is everybody's anticipating it will be a 30-day session. It will be really short and tight because they spent so much time in special session over the summer addressing the pandemic. There's going to be a 7-bill cap on the amount of bills that our legislators are going to be putting in. So we're going to see a really tight, condensed amount of work happening. And we're expecting the Virginia delegation for the House of Delegates is going to convene virtually. We haven't heard what the Senate's going to do yet, but this means that when we normally in January, right, this is advocacy season, we've got our PTA set up and running, and as we come into the winter, this is when we really dig in and engage in advocacy. So we're going to have a social media toolkit for you that you can use. We're going to do a virtual rally on January the 25th, which is basically just sharing your social media posts and raising awareness, building that community awareness. And we're going to basically take our normal Capitol Day virtual. We're not going to go down to the General Assembly in the middle of January like we normally do and meet with all the legislators. We got a little something different prepared for you. So I want to quickly touch on some wins from the 2020 special session. If you remember, we had historic gains in education funding last year. In the original last year session before the special session. Typically, Virginia ranks as 41st in the nation for per pupil state funding. We are not even close to being halfway where the rest of the country is. And so we had made big gains in education funding, but then as we came into the pandemic, a lot of it got rolled back. We lost $500 million worth of K-12 funds. We lost our school counselor funding that we'd been working for years on. We lost some of our broadband funding. And so as we came into special session, we really focused on restoring those things that we'd been working for a couple of years to get back. We got partial restoration, and I highlighted here in red somewhere we didn't manage to make any movement during special session, right? We had a bill on teacher diversity data that they just wouldn't hear because the education committee didn't meet, and we haven't been able to restore any of our money for school counselors yet. So as we come into this session, you can put the things we're going to work into 3 big broad buckets. So the first bucket is funding and staffing. This is exactly what Dr. Brabrand just talked with you about. And it's going to require all of our collective voices across the state to help move it. We want to ensure that the money the state set aside for our school communities remains with our school communities and that they're held harmless for changes in enrollment and revenue loss across the state. We want to make sure that the Virginia Board of Education standards of quality, so these are the staffing standards that the state board sets. They've been making recommendations every year for the past decade, which the General Assembly consistently ignores. And so Senator McClellan and Delegate Aird have put in a bill for us as part of our Fund Our Schools Coalition. It's called the School Equity and Staffing Bill. And we're hoping to be able to move that forward. We expect that because revenue's tight, we might not be able to move any of it. But if we can, we're going to try to. We've got our teacher diversity bill coming back. We're looking to focus on broadband and building renovations so that we can keep our kids safe and have them connected in the digital environment. And then health and safety has always been core, as Kara said, to our mission. Making sure there's mental health resources, school nurses, food security, COVID prevention. And so I just want to take a quick minute and come back to these SOQs. So these are staffing standards. We're going to support the big ask, right? So this is the Board of Education's 2020 recommendations. And I think the only ones we're probably going to be able to move, where we might put our focus, is going to be school nurses. This is really important for Fairfax. Fairfax has a lot of members that sit in important places, important committees, and positions of power within the General Assembly. And Fairfax is one of the divisions that doesn't have one school nurse per building. And so your voice is here to move this legislation forward. Virginia PTA has been supporting this for over a decade. And so we are hoping that as we come back into this COVID space where it's so important to have that healthcare in our building, it's oftentimes the only person that your students will be able to see and connect with from a health perspective. And then also we're hoping to bring back that school counselor funding and restore that. And if nothing else, we're hoping maybe we pick up the full-time principal bill. This is also something the Board of Education has asked for since 2003 that the General Assembly hasn't funded. And when we talk about teacher retention and supporting our teachers, having that leadership in the building is really critical. And then also just teacher diversity data. I'm excited about this one. This is a bill that Delegate Subramaniaman is carrying for the Virginia PTA, helping us to bring some light to how important it is to have diverse teachers in our school buildings. So we've got some learning labs coming up in January. We're going to dive deep into all these topics. I want to highlight one of them for you that Dr. Brabrand talked about a little bit. So this is understanding student assessment and accreditation with the Virginia Department of Education. This one's going to be in the middle of January. We've actually been working with the Department of Education and participated in panels with them over the past month. They're looking to revise the accreditation standards. So they're going to share what's happening with student assessment and accreditation. I invite you all to join that call, ask your questions. What do you think about the SOLs? How do you think our school should be measured? That's your opportunity to provide some feedback. And then we're going to do constituent connections. This is our replacement to Capitol Day. Okay, so we're going virtual. We're going to do constituent connections for the last 2 weeks of January. And we're going to basically send out a form. You'll get an email from me, and it'll ask you to sign up, list your legislator, and then my advocacy committee, which is, includes Julie Shepard, who's here with you from the Nova District. And I have basically the district advocacy chair from across the state are all on the advocacy committee, and we get together and share conversation and connections. And so you're going to register. Julie's going to set up a whole suite of meetings so that all of you have an opportunity to meet with your delegates or your senators and have an open conversation with them about how school is going this year and things you'd like to see move forward. And then we're going to ask you all to share and join in our virtual rally on January the 25th. So just like a few quick reminders, I'm probably over my 10 minutes here, but resolutions are due on January the 11th. This is your chance to elevate things like restraint and seclusion up to the state level so we can have a state vote on them. Child Advocate of the Year awards due on February the 11th. This is your chance to recognize somebody in your community or your local unit or council that's been doing some good work. And then I just want to leave you with one last thought, right? Advocacy is as simple as picking one priority. One thing that moves you. I've got a web page that's called Inside the Issues. Scroll through there, find something that's important to you, look through our current return to school position statement, find one thing that's important, and elevate that discussion across your community. You can do that just by sharing information and social media posts, or you can just support and share our state advocacy work. We have a whole social media campaign. I ask that you don't recreate your own graphics, right? Social media works by sharing and amplifying the voice, so please share and and use some of those same graphics so we can build some energy across the state and then participate in our Capitol Connections. So thank you guys for letting me share with you today. I hope that you will join us in January.
Thank you, Jenna, for all of your work here in Fairfax County, but also all across the Commonwealth. So when you're trying to get PTA membership and people are saying, well, why should we join the PTA? Like the school isn't even opened. This is why, because your membership helps support our advocacy efforts. It is so, if we say we have 400 members or we have 400,000 members, that makes a difference. So this is part of what your dues go to. And before we transition back to Laura Jane, I did just want to share, we discussed it at our last general membership meeting, but over the summer, Virginia PTA did put together a position statement on return to school, and Fairfax County Council PTA ratified that statement. So you can use that statement for your local PTAs as well. And basically our position is, if your student, we support family choice. If your kid wants to be virtual, we support that. If your kid wants to be in person, we support that as well. Okay, so we're gonna pause in our meeting and we're gonna jump back to Laura Jane because she was able to get back on. So Laura Jane, I'm gonna turn the floor back over to you.
Sure, thank you. Oh my gosh, technology has not been my friend today. I also cannot see what was in the chat then in between when I left. So certainly feel free if you guys can see it for somebody to holler them at me. I know that probably people don't want to hear about a joint meeting for the capital improvement program with the Board of Supervisors. So you guys have been patient enough. I'm happy to turn it over and answer questions.
So it looks like there was a question that said, a Tyson's reporter had a story on the possibility of extending this school year. Have you guys heard anything about that and what that might look like?
Yeah, the first time that we actually heard anything about it was in the return to school meeting that we had, I guess, a couple of weeks ago now. And Dr. Brabrand referenced it as a possibility. It's unclear to me if that 5th quarter is something that's going to be more like a more robust extended school year, which those of you who are SPED parents may know that our ESY, our extended school year, is something that we typically offer to kids who need kind of an extra boost for all kinds of different reasons. So it extends their year a little bit. So it's unclear if that is what he means, is something that's an opportunity that would be available to everybody then, and not just certain kids who, might be struggling in certain areas. I'm hopeful that that conversation has been had with our teachers as well, because obviously that's a very different contract conversation. So I don't know if it will just be a quote unquote summer school opportunity for folks who need it. And hopefully by then, my God, we're back in the buildings. So that's unfortunately, I wish I knew more, but we will be asking a lot about that, I have no doubt, on our meeting coming up on the 10th. Can I confirm the dates for the next return to school board meeting? Absolutely. I don't know the superintendent's town hall dates, but the next return to school meeting is on the 10th. And I will give you a time right now. It is at 6 o'clock. The work session begins at 6 p.m. I've struggled finding the information with enough advance notice to get. Okay, well, that's a great pickup. I didn't realize that. One thing we all could do, I keep my PTA lists and do PTA roundtables, a morning and a night one once a month for all the PTA presidents who are in the Springfield district, although anybody, any PTA folks are welcome. And I can at least send that out to, oh, it's not on board docs yet. Okay, thanks, Julie. I'm happy to, I didn't realize that was an issue. So maybe we can just send them out. I'll ask my colleagues as well if they have PTA lists that we can, and PTO that we can get, no offense guys, but that we can get that information out so that it's out there. So thank you for that pickup. I didn't know that. Any other questions?
Come on, guys. I know you have questions for Laura Jane. While everybody's thinking, I was asked earlier, so we finally got the PTA approval to use community grounds, and then, the governor's announcement, so that kind of threw a monkey wrench in that. But are there going to be any kind of metrics that will help us know when the PTA is going to be able to use the grounds again? Because it would help for planning purposes. Like if we see a trend moving in a direction, then we'd be like, oh, okay, it's coming soon. Let's try to plan something now. So
yeah, I mean, certainly, that's, I guess my question is with the governor, we were, as you all know, finally in a good place that we felt like we could differentiate. It sounds to me that the hang up, and I only know this from coming to your meeting last month when everybody pushed Dr. Brabrand as well, was trying to differentiate sort of community use from PTA use. And I think finally, once we pushed enough about that, we were able to get them to differentiate it. So now, as you said, the governor's order on gatherings is the only thing that's keeping us there. And I don't know that anyone, I don't mean it in a negative way, but I don't know that anybody ever has a heads up of what is coming from those meetings. I tune in like everybody else to listen and see if there's all of a sudden going to be some big status change for our school system. So there doesn't appear to be like any sort of trickle down, and maybe Dr. Brabrand could speak to that better than me, but there doesn't seem to be any sort of heads up that school systems get that some major change is coming that's going to impact them. And then my understanding, it said initially schools were not impacted. And so I immediately called Dr. Ivy, our deputy, and she said the same thing. No, Laura Jane, it looks like they separated us out, and I think we're totally fine. But let me call and I'll get an actual check for you. Because I said I have two people literally giving checks to the big inflatable screen people. So I really need to know the answer to this. And she immediately got back and said that she was so sorry, but that the governor's order did trump all of that. So I don't know. Yes, I mean, in a perfect world, we'd have some sense of like, if the metrics get to X point, will they relax it? I'll see if there's any way that we can get some idea of where that's coming from on the governor's office, and certainly be happy to get back to you.
You do have a question in chat from Aaron Anderson.
Aaron says, Girls on the Run. I know Girls on the Run has my heart. I agree. There's so many. Now my dog wants to leave my bedroom, so sorry, guys. There are, not just Girls on the Run, Buddies, and a lot of programs that offer really significant opportunities for kids, for college scholarships and all of it. So I hear you. Absolutely. Totally agree. And I don't know how you do that when we can't have more than 23 people at a time. So either limiting, I don't know if there's a way to stagger, different time periods throughout the day, but let's connect with me and let's see if we can figure out if there's any creative way to make this happen. So Aaron, please feel free to email me and I can take up this cause and see what we can figure out. I don't see any other ones. Can FCPS publish these work session dates and info on restraint seclusion on the FCPS Facebook page? Yeah, that's a great question. I will write that down and ask our communications folks if they can publish the dates of upcoming work sessions and hearings. No problem.
Hey, Laura Jane, this is Sahar. I had a question. It's not related to the school grounds, but I was just wondering, I know you talked to many teachers as well as, obviously parents and such. I was just wondering, given, the recent delays in getting back to school, I was just curious what your sense was of how virtual learning was going. What were the challenges? I know with our school, we've been working really closely with our principal on supplementing, however, whether it's extra monitors or something to help teachers. So I was just curious what overall feedback you've been hearing about virtual learning overall.
Yeah, I think it really seems very dependent on who you talk to. When I talk to principals and when I talk to teachers, the feedback is overwhelmingly really positive. When I talk to my PTA president, same thing. I mean, there's certainly, I would not want to minimize in any way that there are families that are struggling and teachers that are struggling. I'm not discounting that at all. But I haven't heard a lot of complaints about like technology, things that they need this far in. I think everybody's struggling with the workload still, no question. And I even see it, in my own house. I have a middle schooler and a high schooler, and I certainly see it here. I think for all of us, kind of the lack of having a defined end date for this. I think probably just about anybody can do anything for a defined period of time. And the fact that we don't have a definition here, folks are really struggling because we do continue to hear the workload from teachers is not sustainable. And then I hear the same thing from parents and from students. So I think that personally, I kind of think that we're at a point of we either have to have a decision that we're just keeping examining this week by week and everybody holds on and this is how it is. Or do we wind up in a place like Falls Church? And it'd be interesting. I saw that Dr. Noonan included like why they made that decision. So I'm looking forward to reading like, how they made that decision. But if you're saying to yourself, we're at a point where we're gonna say we're not gonna try to get back in because of health metrics until after the holidays. If that's a decision that they make, then I really think we have to have some serious conversations about sustainability then in the long term, because I think we're all just holding out for when's that magic day that kids get to be back in, or those of us that chose virtual, be virtual, but be in some sustained situation where we know what's happening. So, I by and large still hear just like amazing success stories from folks, from teachers in particular, about the kind of connections that they're making that they never dreamed possible virtually. And I hear it in my own house of my kids saying things about their teachers and talking about them, honestly, especially my high schooler, in ways that was not our experience in person, even though I think they had a very successful high school experience. But just the personal relationships with teachers has been my biggest surprise in all of this, and really speaks to kind of how amazing our kids are and our teachers. So not so much technology stuff, but I am hearing those kinds of success stories that are pretty remarkable given that where we are right now.
Yeah, totally would agree. The one thing, actually, you raise a really good point, is that I've heard the same thing as the workload is crazy it's actually funny now that we hold our PTA meetings virtually. I have teachers and I have more attendance, which is great, which is really bizarre. But the workload is the consistent thing we hear. And I just wonder if, I don't know if FCPS for the central office, if they've already given stuff to teachers. It just seems like there's a opportunity for some economies of scale to help. But I'm sure they've thought about this, but maybe it's just hard to kind of, or even by region or something.
Well, and I see, like Deanna just said, that they're noticing teachers.
That's the one area I think they're
tricky. Yeah, spending funds on printer ink and general supplies and things like that. So let me check into that too. That definitely doesn't seem, I agree that those would normally be coming from the school and from school budgets. And Dr. Brabrand, I think, tried to be pretty careful about leaving those together in the hopes that we were actually going to be back in building. So let me check into that. I certainly want to make sure that that's not happening. Title I schools are having difficulty with engagement. Yeah, I think there's lots of communities. I tried to look really carefully at what the Post wrote about the failing grades. And I think everybody has kind of their own take, of course, on what that was and what it looked like. And one big piece to me that I think we all have to stress is that kids who generally have support and were being successful in school before the pandemic are generally finding that same kind of success at home. Again, there are definitely exceptions to that. I would never try to gloss that over. But the kids who were struggling in school and pre-pandemic and struggling with that kind of support at home are, not surprisingly, still really struggling in this pandemic and in this virtual world. So I know there's overlap both ways, and I wouldn't want to gloss that over. There are kids who, come and say that this virtual setting has been life-changing for them. And there's kids who absolutely are saying it the other way too. So, but I agree. I think that there's absolutely, needs that are not being met. And the goal was, and still is, that if we can we've been using this MTSS, model, the tiered system of supports. And if we can look at how do we get some of those kids in who we have identified are struggling for all kinds of reasons, how do we make opportunities? Those Mondays are good examples that I know that there are teachers who are trying to pull kids in, trying to get them in person. So, I want our principals to have more discretion, again, when the health metrics allow us to do that, but to be able to not have to wait for a whole group to come in, to be able to bring some kids in who are really struggling. Because sometimes it literally is just physically having eyes on a kid. And, you guys know that you're in your buildings all the time and the difference. It is not the same. So, yeah, I think everybody's having a hard time, and we got to figure out some way to make this more sustainable if we're in this for the long haul. Any other question? This is technology shortages.
Yeah, it looks like the rest of the questions are more PTA, should we pay for something?
Yeah, I certainly, unfortunately, cannot give you advice about that. I would definitely say working with your principals about meeting the needs of your buildings. And I know some school PTAs have tried to do some support things, and I close my ears because I don't want to know. And if your principal thinks it's appropriate and your PTA president, it falls within your guidelines, then, I certainly leave it to your discretion. And I hear you about technology. I hear you about broadband. That's another thing we're going to be working with the state legislature this session too, is, to work together on some broadband. That's one of those few instances where rural and urban and suburban and exurban, like all our delegates can get together and know that this is impacting everybody. So that will be a big push this session, I'm hearing, about getting access.
There was also, I know at least at our school, we heard that our principal said that there was some CARES Act funding. So be sure to check with your principal on that, because there are opportunities that they can rely on for that.
Yeah, and what we tried to do this time, and I'm super grateful that we got it approved, was when teachers were trying to figure out what they needed to teach virtually and teach concurrently from the school building, instead of just trying to prescribe what kind of technology teachers needed, we advocated for giving principals a pot of money and letting teachers be able to do an inventory of what they thought they needed, because it's just different. It's different for every teacher. It's different for different kinds of classes of what's going to work. And I am hearing really good feedback from teachers about that, about the ability to figure out what kind of camera or what kind of microphone, or did they need things that were hanging down, or and I really, really like that we did that, because that's not kind of been an FCPS. We love a one size fits all answer, and this is not a time for that. So I'm hopeful that that is also being used for technology sort of universally at the school, of how we make sure that we can support this happening for our kiddos.
Laura Jane, thank you so much for your time tonight and for powering through the tech glitches.
No problem. I think, we all face them, and I really appreciate being invited, and thanks for tolerating my always too long answers. I appreciate you all so much. And please always feel like, whether you're in the Springfield district or not, certainly if I can be helpful, just, give me a ring and let me know how I can help.
Thanks again. You guys, I'm going to send out another poll if I can figure out how to do this. Okay, so again, we would like some feedback. Is having a school board
I don't know. I want to see the results.
Oh, it's good so far.
Everyone can be honest. It's okay. It won't hurt my feelings.
All right, we are about halfway through and you're 96% approval. So looks like, all right, I'm gonna give it like 10 more seconds. We're always curious when we have these meetings, what provides value to our PTA members. Is hearing from a school board member something that you do want to hear? Is this helpful? So I'm gonna go ahead and end the polling and see if I can share it. So yes, Laura, we like you. All right, we are going to get back to business. Okay, so we had our advocacy update. So hopefully you guys are all experts after hearing everything that Virginia PTA is doing for advocacy. So now it's time to talk money. And I don't know about you guys, but I've spent the last 2 weeks like furiously holiday shopping on Amazon. So my finances aren't looking so hot, but I tell you Amazon because a lot of PTAs don't take advantage of Amazon Smile. If you are not taking advantage of Amazon Smile, please do and promote it within your communities. It's a really easy way right now to bring a little bit of effortless fundraising into your budget. Okay, so anyway, I am confident that FCC PTA's finances are better than mine because my bank account is like opening an onion, like it makes me cry. Anyway, please allow me to introduce our fearless and budget-hungry treasurer, Miss Jamie Yarusi. She didn't like my intro. Jamie, are you here?
Yes, sorry. Apologies. It's been a long day. I apologize. Yes, I am here. Thank you, Kara. All right, so our finances are looking up. Our opening balance this month was $25,346.82. As you can see, dues are beginning to come in. I appreciate all of the PTAs who are using Member Hub. That is fantastic. This is the first year we've been using it and it seems to be working. For those of you who just want to write checks, that's fine too. I will go and pick them up and cash them. That accounts for a majority of our credits this month. We did have one expense as well, the constant contact. Our ending balance is $27,370.56. As of 11/28, we had dues from 47 PT and PTSAs totaling a little over $2,000, which means that we are likely to hit our target membership dues that we budgeted for at the beginning of the year. So that's all I have unless there are questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Jamie? While you guys are digesting, as a reminder, it looks like we have a lot of money right now. However, we are not anticipating getting any real income in this year. And we're trying to be fiscally responsible, thinking ahead to next year. Like we are hoping that things are back to normal next year, but if they're not, we're still gonna need to spend money next year. And then we're gonna have to leave money for the next board. They wouldn't like it if we didn't leave any money in their account. So, any questions for Jamie? All right, looking good, thank you. So I am happy but not surprised that our finances look good. And I say not surprised because if you are a PTA president, you need to know what's going on with your money. You need to be best friends with the treasurer, not really, but you need to know what the treasurer is up to and you need to be on top of the finances as well. So happy but not surprised because Jamie and I are working like this. Okay, so we are going to move on to our meeting minutes. So I don't know if Brett is here. I'm hoping she isn't because it's her child's birthday.
I'm here.
Brett, what are you doing?
He's playing video games. He doesn't need his mom.
Okay, so we are not going to read the minutes aloud. We sent them to you in advance. So I am going to ask, are there any corrections to the minutes? I think Brett did an amazing job. Did I hear someone? I'm going to ask one more time. Are there any corrections to October's meeting minutes?
You're getting many.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to read them. We'll be here for like an hour. Okay, so with no corrections to the minutes, they are approved as written. If you find anything in the future, please just let me know. Reach out to Brett and I. Okay, so Brett, I hope that you are going to go back to spending time with your family on your kid's birthday. Okay, so we are going to move on. Okay, we're military families. So living in the DC area, many of us have a direct connection or we have loved someone in the military. Personally, my dad's career Air Force. I spent my first 14 years of life moving around to various military bases. My husband served in the Army. So I have connections, you have connections. We all have connections to somebody who has served or is serving. So we know that military families are strong and they are tough. However, a little love and support can go a long way. And right now, our local military families, they need us. They need the PTA, especially the military families who moved here after COVID created this distraction in our lives. So please join me in welcoming our Military Families Chair, Ms. Julie Shepard, so she can share how the PTA can help our military families and their children.
Thank you, Kara. It's my pleasure to speak with you all this evening and share a little bit about what we've been able to start doing this year and send that call out to the rest of you who don't maybe know what we've been doing in this space. So a little history lesson, really short. We didn't always have this position. This was created in 2019. So I've been kind of building this from the ground up with some fantastic support here at FCC PTA. And after consulting with Nova District, we kind of raised that up to that district level as well, because we found that Arlington Council needed that same sort of support. And Fairfax's programs have been in existence a little bit longer, so we can actually be the leader in this space and help them build their programming out as well. So one of the things that I'll share that's really important that we have here in Virginia, the Virginia Department of Education in 2018 added a Purple Star program. So it's a program where your school leadership and you can, with the PTA, talk to your school, say it's a commitment to show that we care about our military families. So military families will see that on the website and know that, oh, if I'm going to send my kid to the school, that there's going to be programming and supports in place for those military children. So on Thursday night at the school board meeting, they will be recognizing this year's group of schools that are getting recognized with the Purple Star. So if you want to know about that, you can tune in there. And they do have some stats in the board docs that show that there's about 14,000 military students within Fairfax County. So what we're doing with this committee is we started in the fall, we're meeting monthly. We're asking for the PTAs that have a rep that are either a liaison, military families chair, or a Purple Star, whatever you're calling it, or it could be you're the vice president of your PTA or your secretary and you're a military family and you want to know how to bring this programming to your school, then you're going to reach out to me and I'll add you into our committee meeting. Our next meeting is December 8th at 7:30. And right now, our next goal that we're working on is a virtual welcome packet that we can house on our Nova District website. And then we can send this out to new families before they get into the region. So this is something that's going to take a lot of work from a lot of people, but I think it's going to be really impactful to have more voices in the work. Last month when we met, we were really lucky that we had Dr. Renee LaHuffman-Jackson from FCPS, who is now our military families point person for the district. And we had school board rep Rachna Sizemore-Heiser, who has agreed to do a town hall for military families. So we will be working on that. But I do invite you to send me an email if you're not sure if your PTA is covered in this committee, or if you have a rep or you want to talk with me more about it, then please. Yes, Teresa, it's December 8th. So if anybody has any questions, you can type them in the chat.
Thank you, Julie.
Yes, I will share my, oh, maybe I had the date wrong, Teresa. I asked Mary earlier and that's what she told me. I'll send out an email to everyone and I'll drop my email in the chat. So thank you.
All right, thanks, Julie. Okay, so next up, we're going to hear from our special education PTA or our SEPTA. I did just want to share a personal anecdote. So I am a mother of a child who has autism, and I personally have been extremely grateful to the SEPTA community connections, the information, and the support that I have received as a member. Attending SEPTA's meetings has given me the tools that I needed to advocate for my child and advocate successfully. So please consider appointing a SEPTA liaison to your PTA's local unit. I guarantee you have children at your school who are receiving special education services. So please consider appointing a liaison and maybe even joining SEPTA yourself. They're doing amazing things. So our liaison, Jen, is unable to be here tonight. So I believe Jenna White, who is our trauma-informed care network rep, I think she is going to provide the presentation. Jenna, are you here?
Hi, Kara. Yes, thank you. I think it'll be Michelle Cades and myself. So
Okay.
I'll go for a second and then I'll turn it over to Michelle. We'll just split it up that way. So for my part, I want to let everybody know about an event we were able to quickly put together. It's going to be on December 7th at 7 o'clock. It's a screening of the documentary called The Kids We Lose. This is the premiere documentary on restraint and seclusion that was done by Ross Green's group. He's really the expert on how to resolve behavioral challenges in a way that do not use restraint and seclusion. So we're going to put the registration the registration link. I'm going to put it in the chat box. It's also up on our Facebook page. It's on SEPTA's Facebook page. And so we really want both elected officials to see this so that they can understand the issue and literally see it. It is very realistic and graphic footage, but also the entire community. So it's something that you can share not only with your PTA and your school and your staff, but really any of your community groups and networks. It is free. We just need folks to pre-register. It will not be recorded, so people need to come that night. And while I'm putting that in the chat box, I think we're going to try to show a real trailer for this documentary. So again, it's December 7th, and once this is over, I'll turn it over to Michelle. Whoops, oh, that's Larry, I don't know if you can add sound to this.
I know there's no sound, but this is still super impactful, especially as we're having these restraint and seclusion discussions.
No, there's no sound, Larry.
Then there won't be sound.
Okay, well, I think that gives folks a little sense. The link not only to register, but the link to the Kids We Lose website is on there, and the trailer is right there on the homepage if you do want to take a look or share it. But again, we just hope that you can attend, and either way, if you can just help us spread the word. SEPTA and FCCPTA were able to really scramble to get this together quickly in advance, not only of the school board vote, but fortunately it'll be in advance of the hearing. So we really hope to use the documentary and to propel participation into the the school board hearing. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jenna, for pushing on that. Hi, I'm Michelle Cades from Fairfax County SEPTA. Our liaison had an unexpected appointment she had to jump to this evening. So Jenna just shared with you about the Kids We Lose. We really encourage you to join us, pass the word along to your communities as well. And it's Inclusive Schools Week next week, which is a great time for you to really recognize and honor everybody related to the special education community. And it's just also very coincidental that we have all the special ed stuff going on. So you've heard that we have the restraint and seclusion position statement, as well as all the discussion that happened yesterday at the work session. SEPTA really worked around the clock over the weekend to get significant packets of information sent out to the school board members and top FCPS staff about restraint and seclusion. And we did publish a position statement, which, thank you very much, FCC PTA signed onto it as well. We've also been joined on it by Formed Families Forward, as well as, I just drew a total blank. All right, well, one other organization, and I'm sorry, I'm so tired from the weekend still, but we're having multiple organizations signing on. We have more organizations saying they're interested in signing on. Oh, the ARC of Northern Virginia, there we go. They also signed on. Just one thing to sort of point out that Dr. Brabrand said that they're eliminating restraint and seclusion in 99% of the schools. So they're limiting, the proposal, at least as of now, is to limit seclusion to just 3 schools. But just so you know, Allie had posted in the chat, in, I believe it was 2017, 40% of the seclusions for the whole county happened at those 3 schools. So pay attention to what the numbers are truly saying, please. There's going to be a public hearing on Friday, December 11th, as Laura Jane just told us, at 6 p.m. So stay tuned to SEPTA for more information about how you and your communities can get involved. Also coming up is a ACSD meeting on Monday at 5 o'clock. And that's going to be a discussion from the special ed department with whatever new restraint and seclusion policy they are hopefully working on as we speak. And that will be live streamed. And then also in SEPTA, we are going to be having a fundraiser with Barnes & Noble for online on December 5th through the 10th. So stay tuned to our Facebook page if you would like to get the word out for us. And thank you, Kara. As she mentioned, we are still more than happy to have liaisons join us from all of your schools. So if you are interested, please reach out to us with that as well. You can just email info@fairfaxcountysepta.org. And any questions, feel free to reach out to me or anyone else from SEPTA at any time. Thanks.
Thank you both, Michelle and Jenna, for our SEPTA update and for your impressive advocacy efforts. You guys have just been rocking and rolling this year. So next up, we have the honor of hearing from Nova District PTA. So as a simple reminder, when you are part of the PTA in Fairfax County Public Schools, you are also part of Nova District. So today we have Ms. Debbie Kilpatrick, our Assistant Director for Nova District PTA.
Oh, thank you, Kara. Appreciate that. And, you know, I'm so happy to see you have like 100 people on this call, which is amazing. And, you know, I know people are so happy to hear all the great news that the Fairfax County Council PTA is now doing and continues to do. So for the Northern Virginia District, while we also represent Fairfax County Council PTA, we also represent Arlington County Council and Alexandria City Council PTAs. And we have our district reflections entries due this week, which I know all of our council reflections chairs are working on. So we'll be judging those and then forwarding them to our Virginia PTA competition in January. The other exciting news is for our district is Virginia PTA has a reflections theme search, which is also moves on up to National PTA. And of the 5 entries that were selected for Virginia PTA, 4 came from our district. Specifically, they came from Fairfax County Council local PTAs. So we had a winner from McNair Elementary, Louise Archer Elementary. We had a winner from Lake Braddock Secondary School and one from TJ PTSA. And the one from Lake Braddock and the one from TJ, they're actually siblings. So, congratulations to all of those PTAs and to those students. The other thing is that Northern Virginia District continues to offer the free lifetime license for Microsoft 365 and team meetings. We have at least 1 or 2 requests every week from our local PTAs. We do ask them to provide their good standing requirements to show us that they've submitted everything. And everybody's been very, very good about getting those items in that are required for them to have that good standing status with Virginia PTA. And they also submit the council dues as well, which is really great. The citizenship essay is our other excellent student program, and that will be due from our students by February 1st. It is an online form this year, and it's actually on the webpage at Virginia PTA. This probably next week, early next week, we'll send out a newsletter with our student programs focused on it so that all the local PTAs can then just share it out to their community. And the citizenship essay theme, I did want to mention that. It is really relevant this year is how do we stand together while so far apart? So it's a very relevant theme, and I think it'll be very interesting to see our students' perspective on this theme this year. And the final thing is the Virginia PTA announced their registration today for the 2021 annual meeting. And everyone should have received that notification. It is going to be fully virtual during the period of March 15th through March 20th. And registration will only be $20, but that will give you access to the voting, to the resolutions that I know Jenna Alexander, her committee will be bringing forward. We will have bylaws amendments, revisions, and elections for the new 2021-23 term for officers, and a keynote speaker, which will be our National PTA President, Leslie Boggs. So I think that's pretty much, one important thing is that Virginia PTA will be celebrating their 100th anniversary. And that's going to be a very special event and a special celebration. So the theme is Celebrate the Stars. And so they are asking all of our local PTAs to send in, when you register, something good that's happened within your PTA community. So I encourage everyone to participate. I encourage everyone to register. I think it's a great opportunity to engage at the state level. And we will miss seeing everyone in person this next year, but hopefully visually we can capture everybody. So Kara, I think that's it. We did have a couple of great events recently, our district training in October and our anti-racism seminar in November. And perhaps there may be another seminar coming up. Julie, I'll leave it to Julie to let us know about any advocacy, but it looks like Jenna Alexander's got a lot planned for us on advocacy, and we will certainly want to promote that and participate in those great events. So thank you, Kara.
Thank you, Debbie. All right, I'm hoping, sorry guys. My dogs are really happy to be part of the PTA world. Okay, so I got off of SEPTA too quickly, and I apologize. We're going to backtrack really quick, and then we're going to end with a small award ceremony. So I'm going to go back to SEPTA and ask Julie Shepard to provide a couple more updates for us.
Thank you so much, Kara. It would be remiss if, as district advocacy chair, I didn't give a huge shout out to the entire team from SEPTA and FCCPTA that worked on the restraint and seclusion position statement. There was hundreds of hours spent from our ACSD rep at FCCPTA and the ACSD rep at SEPTA, and they worked collaboratively together over the holiday weekend to get all of this work done, and the advocacy work that they did, reaching out to all their school board members in advance of the live stream on Monday night and the several hour long meeting work session yesterday. So they have some huge advocacy wins there. And I just wanted to give a shout out to all of the work, all the collaboration that was done between both units. So the community really owes you a debt of gratitude with this. We're not done with this, but this has been something ongoing since the story broke in March of 2019. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Julie. Okay.
Can I just add, Kara? Sorry.
Yeah.
I would also like to share my thanks as an individual member of the ACSD, because I am not speaking for the entire committee. We are very hamstrung by the state requirements that are put forth in our advocacy, our advisory role, I should say. We are not an advocacy group. And so I really would like to thank everybody from SEPTA and FCCPTA for really taking our recommendations and getting them out there in a way that we could not do ourselves. So from the committee, I think I can safely say that everybody who is on the committee is extremely thankful, and we hope that you will attend and listen to the updates on Monday. And we also have our regular meeting next Wednesday. So we're going to be very busy listening and sending our updated recommendations to the school board. Thanks.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Our last piece of official business is to honor our aspiring and talented student artists. Creativity takes courage, and art enables us to both find ourselves and lose ourselves at the same time. National PTA's Reflections program provides opportunities for recognition and access to the arts, which boosts student confidence and success both in the arts and in life. So please join me in welcoming our Reflections Chair, Mr. Jason Morgan.
Thank you so much. This year's program, this is my first year as Reflections Chair, and the Fairfax County Council PTA foolishly put someone who has never been in charge of any Reflections program, but I am pretty good with computers. So I think that helped this year because we went all digital. We had over 400 students participate around the county. We had over 200 entries come up to be judged at the Fairfax County Council PTA, and we have 93 winners. We will go through very quickly, but we will make sure you get a chance to see everyone's work. First, though, I want to recognize our judges. Now, we had 22 judges in total. They didn't all want to be recognized, but I wanted to give you a little bit of a sampling of some of the people we had. We had Terry, who is an, oops, I'm sorry about that. I was trying to move my the little thing around so I can actually see my notes. We've got Terry, who is an artist, printmaker, retired art therapist. We have Tijuana Holland, who's a project manager with the Department of Treasury and a member of the Deer Park Elementary PTA. We have Bridgetta, who is a registered dance movement therapist with the American Dance Therapy Association. We have Leo Deej, who is a retired Foreign Service officer, an oil painter of portraits and landscapes, and author of Warrior: From Nazi-Occupied Holland to the Jungles of Vietnam. Dale McGrath is a full-time painter living in Northern Virginia. Jason Alexander is a potter working out of the newly renovated private studio in Manassas. Bridget is owner of BA Helloy, fine artist, and she's a fine artist and photographer. Mary Ellen Perkowski, as she wanted us to know that as a judge via membership in the Vienna Art Society, that she wanted to recognize all the talented students who submitted entries, and that it was just a joy to view their art, listen to their music, read their essays and poems, and that the depth of the feelings they shared via their entries was simply marvelous. And she just wanted to thank all of them for the effort they put forth. And we have Jenny, who is a mom of 2 FCPS students, and we had many other judges who put in a lot of work to make sure that each work was considered, given fair consideration. Each work was considered by at least 2, and in most cases, many more judges. So that really helped make sure that they got a fair hearing. So we also had some of the artists we had, Kim, were, I mentioned Chloe, B.A. Chloe. We also have the Learn Sunray, which is children's yoga inspired art and handmade designs, and the Learn Now music group, which they have fun music programs, online music classes, music lessons, winter break camps, private music lessons, winter break camps, and they provide rental instruments and music delivered to your door. We also had the Vienna Art Society, which brings together artists and the public to enrich experiences in art. We had the Art League, which is down in it's a nonprofit down in the Torpedo Factory, Alexandria, Virginia, and the Reston Art Gallery at Lake Ann Plaza. So all of these partners helped provide judges who gave us the expertise needed to give all of these works and really excellent assessment. So let's just go right into the rewards. We're going to start with the Reflections Honorable Mention Awards for dance choreography. Our first is I Am Not Alone by Logan Ho at Louis Archer Elementary School. This Is Me by Anisha Carey, Stenwood Elementary School. Make a Difference by Kendall Nelson at Sunrise Valley Elementary School. For honorable mention, film production, I Matter Because I Care by Jocelyn Shermer, Oakview Elementary School, and Rough Reports by Owen Koch, Stenwood Elementary School. For literature, honorable mentions, we have I Matter by Marilyn Hinkey, Oakton Elementary School, Our Story by Luke Caldwell, Louis Archer Elementary School, Broken But Alive by Ataya Penanti at Luther Jackson Middle School, and We Matter by Alexander Bibeau at Thomas A. Edison High School. Music composition, honorable mention. We have Feeling Good by Sareem Nasir Khan, Flores Elementary School. The Widow by Michaela Cho, Mantua Elementary School. Beautiful by Ria Kumar, Rachel Carson Middle School. And Take Over by Julie Otten, Lake Braddock Secondary School. Honorable mentions in photography. Part of a Team by John Marciano, Great Falls Elementary School. Land of the Free, Because of the Brave by William Christopher Gear, Wolf Trap Elementary School. Chalk Messaging by Sophia King, White Oaks Elementary School. And Family by Delina Ogbe at Hayfield Secondary School. Visual arts, move my thing again, I'm sorry. The I Matter Unicorn by Maddie Sauer at Terra Center Elementary School. Fearlessly Made by Ella Deaton, Terra Center Elementary School. We have Foresight by Caitlin Holtaway at Wolf Trap Elementary School, and Consociate by Alejandra Escobar at Hayfield Secondary School. Moving on to the awards of merit. Dance choreography. Dance by Sebastian Bryceno, Deer Park Elementary School. Try by Genevieve Chung at Mantua Elementary School. And Joy to the World, Sanya Bala, Flores Elementary School. My apologies to Flores for misspelling that. Film production, award of merit. We have I Matter by Ismail Malik, Louis Archer Elementary School. We Matter to Each Other by Keaton Brennan, Mantua Elementary School. Everyone Matters, Sophia Kang, White Oaks Elementary School. For the Award of Merit in Literature, All About Nature by Aidan Jong, Churchill Road Elementary School. We Matter to Each Other by Kyra Conley, Camelot Elementary School. Share a Song by Sophia Zetsnavov at Joyce Kilmer Middle School. I Matter Because You Matter by Cassidy Grace Mazik at Hayfield Secondary School. The Award of Merit in Music Composition, Be Yourself by Nadia Peralta at Louis Archer Elementary School. I Matter Because by Naisha Patheredi by McNair Elementary School. Bridge to the Future by Anika Desai at Churchill Road Elementary School. And Hidden Potential by Peter Hinckley at McLean High School. The Award of Merit in Photography, we have Ballerina by Lily Carroll at Cherry Run Elementary School. I Matter Because Reading Matters by Penny Kamener at Stenwood Elementary School. Mask of Change by Beatrice Shirley, Cherry Run Elementary School. And 6 Feet Apart But Together by Charlotte Loving, Langley High School. And for Visual Arts Awards of Merit, we have I Stand Tall by Anika Awar at Flores Elementary School. Be Happy With Me by Christina O, Oakview Elementary School. Our World is a Puzzle by Sasha Shakula at Aldrin Elementary School. And My Mark by Natalie Hoffman at Langley High School. Now we are on the Award of Excellence in Dance Choreography. I Matter Because I Am Unique by Anaya Oberoi at McNair Elementary School. Kathak, Art of Storytelling by Adrita Paul at Flores Elementary School. Together We Rise, Rishima Sahu at McNair Elementary School. And Warrior, Rachel Borowski at Hayfield Secondary School. Awards of Excellence in Film Production, My Magic Show by Rinad Rifat at Mantua Elementary School. The Skateboarder's Broken Arm by Joseph Crowley at White Oaks Elementary School. And I Matter Because by Kyra Chung at Frost Middle School. The Award of Excellence in Literature, I Am by Eliana Bloomberg at West Springfield Elementary School. The Race by Adia Weiss at Stenwood Elementary School. Invisible Poetry by Nidhi Panabakam at Rachel Carson Middle School. And I Matter Because by Natalie Hutchinson at Langley High School. Award of Excellence in Music Composition, I Matter Because I Care for Everyone by Jayanth Ravi at McNair Elementary School. A Good Day for Me by Josie Harris at Sunrise Valley Elementary School. Just for the record, we did get a video, but the judges only could hear her music, but it was a nice visual, so I went back to the video for this. We have Share a Song by Sophia Tsetsanov at Joyce Kilmer Middle School, and Perspective by Katie Donazik at Langley High School. The Award of Excellence in Photography, The Beauty of the Ladybug by Talia Grumet at Mantua Elementary School. Different Parts of Me by Connor Graves, Louis Archer Elementary School. Beauty is Unique by Tanishika Gandhi at Rachel Carson Middle School. And Time for Renewal, Eloise Shirley at Lake Braddock Secondary School. And for the Award of Excellence in Visual Arts, I Matter Because I Can Be a Princess If I Want to, Grayson Shears, Churchill Road Elementary School. I Am the Future by Joseph J. Yoon, Poplar Tree Elementary School. And My Dreams by Mobon Kurukumbi at Frost Middle School. And Train to Harmony by Ella Park, McLean High School. And we are now in the Outstanding Interpretation Awards for Dance Choreography. Dance Choreography, Vamshi Chulukumari at Flores Elementary School. I Believe by Charlotte Wolf, Brookfield Elementary School. The World Puzzle by Manya Yelapedi at Rachel Carson Middle School. First Burn by Melina Turnage at McLean High School. For Film Production Outstanding Interpretation, My Life as a Caterpillar by Avan Tyagi at McNair Elementary School. I Matter, You Matter Too by Julia Drolet at Wolf Trap Elementary School. And The Power of a Smile by Natalie Stebbins at Camelot Elementary School. Outstanding Interpretation in Literature, I Can, You Can Too by Elisa Kang at White Oaks Elementary School. Another COVID Summer Day by Heidi Koolmees at Flores Elementary School. What I See in You by Lily Eldridge at Wolf Trap Elementary School. Expanding Matter by Isabella Trini Rogando at Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology, and Kaleidoscope by Charles Wynn at Lake Braddock Secondary School. For reflections, outstanding interpretation in literature, music composition, outstanding interpretation in music composition. We have How Do You React to Me by Harper Hill, Stenwood Elementary School, Unique by Laura Desai at Churchill Road Elementary School, I Matter Because by Jude Caldwell at Luther Jackson Middle School, A Journey Through Life by Ethan Caldwell at Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology, and I Matter for Me by Jake Sizemore at Lake Braddock Secondary School. For outstanding interpretation in photography, Stepping into the World as Strong as a Rock by Avayan Tayagi at McNair Elementary School, My Beautiful Cat by Carly Deeds at Sunrise Valley Elementary School, Hope by Emily Pashkiewicz at Churchill Road Elementary School, Life Reflected in a Droplet, Mikala Wells at Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology, and Perseverance by Charles Wynn at Lake Braddock Secondary School. And finally, Reflections, Outstanding Interpretation for Visual Arts. Lovely Neighborhood by Milia at Oakton Elementary School. We All Matter by Julia Drolet at Wolf Trap Elementary School. My Pieces of Quilt by Claire Moon, Rachel Carson Middle School. Intertwined Hopes by Sayun Choi at Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology. And In the Time of COVID-19 by Ashley Groves, Lake Braddock Secondary School. So I return the control back over to our president.
Oh my gosh. Like, I am just in awe. That was so amazing. Congratulations. Fantastic. I'm like seriously impressed. I was trying not to cry while looking at all this stuff. So any of my little friends that are on and we saw your art, you guys did amazing. I loved the dance costumes and the drawings and the photography. You guys are such amazing rock stars. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, that was our last official piece of business. Does anybody have any questions? Do any of my young aspiring artists want to pop on and say hello? I see some waves. You guys can turn your mics on and say hi.
Hi. Hi. Hi.
Hi. You guys are all so great.
Hi.
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 Hi. We're
Thank you.
We are so proud of you all. Thank you so much. Jason, we did have a misspelling on a name, so so I forwarded it to you. Okay. Well, does anybody have any final PTA business questions, comments, concerns? No. Okay, I'm going to officially adjourn the meeting. It's 8:25 p.m. I'm so glad we got to end it with all that wonderful art. Thank you so much. Okay, everybody, happy December. And
Madam President?
Yes.
Yes, just for the record, it was the dance choreography, outstanding interpretation should have been Vritika Chulu Kamari. So I definitely got the name wrong. Some of the names got copied over incorrectly. So my apologies.
Kara, there was a quick question in the chat about, do these go to state? What are the next
number
steps, I guess?
that will go to state, it was going to depend on what the Nova District PTA adopts. If it's only one, then it'll be outstanding interpretation. If it's two, outstanding interpretation plus excellence. It really depends on their policy. They can only send up one to state, so they may only accept one each division category from us.
Normally, we, due to the size of the council, we accept the top three. The three for each age in each division, each category. So, but Denise Bolton is handling the district reflections. So, along with the council chairs. So, awesome job.
You guys, I just realized I had a poll. I missed one poll earlier, but this is a really important question. Are you guys looking forward to winter break? See, I thought it was going to be a yes, but then I realized it's just another 2 weeks with my kid and my husband home all the time. Like nothing's changed.
It was a long Thanksgiving break.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm going to give you guys like 10 more seconds and then I'll share our poll results. All right, I'm going to end polling at 30 seconds and most of us are absolutely positively ready for winter break. All right, thank you so much for spending 2 hours with us tonight. Thank you so much to all of our amazing future artists. You guys were so great. Happy holidays, and here's hoping that next year things look up. All right, thank you everyone. Have a wonderful night. See you soon.
Thanks, guys. Yep.
Bye.
Bye.